Okay, and hello and welcome to episode 2 of our series of podcasts, Local to Leader. In the last episode, we talked a bit about franchising, a bit about what franchising really is, and just in generic terms. In this second instalment, we're going to get a bit more into the meat of franchising and talk about, is franchising right for you? Talk a little bit about the reasons why people go into franchising, if they've got the right mindset, and what to avoid. Delighted in the second episode to be joined by my colleague, Phil Harrison. Phil, if you'd like to introduce yourself, please.
Yeah, I'm Phil Harrison. I've been in franchising for around 20 odd years, and I've actually been a franchisee myself, and I work alongside Dave in recruitment with NIC, and we also do a bit of marketing as well, don't we?
We do indeed, yeah. Part of our remit is to not only recruit franchisees, but provide marketing support and resources to them as well. So a nice varied role, and delighted to be working with Phil. I've known Phil for over 15 years, probably a good chunk of those over 20 years we've both been in franchising, so it's great at last to be working together.
And the brilliant thing about Dave is he can now finish my sentences for me when I struggle. We've been working together very closely for a while now, and he's like got a telepathic vision of what I'm about to say, don't you?
Yeah, worryingly, we are almost becoming each other's working husbands.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, but let's move on for that one. So yeah, I want to start a little bit really about why people consider franchising. So, Philly, you got any thoughts about why people even really think about franchising as a route to going self-employment?
There's various reasons, isn't there? I mean, you've got the dreamer, the one that dreams big, that thinks it's it's going to be their path to great riches. You've got those people that just want to be their own boss, that have dreamt of being their own boss all their life. Then you've got the people that that might be being made redundant, for example. Corporate people who are maybe hitting a bit of burnout or got to a certain point where they don't want the kind of rat race anymore, the corporate rat race. There's various reasons. I think for me, when I started my franchise, I've got to admit, a bit of it was kind of, I wanted to prove that I could do it. A bit of ego drive as much as anything, to show I could run a franchise, I could run my own business. I did have that dreamer mentality as well, though. I did always harbour that dream of running my own business. But yeah, I think for me, there was a bit of ego drive there to prove that I could do a franchise. I think there's other reasons though as well, isn't there?
Absolutely. I think one of the things I've picked up on is the corporate life, and over the years I've worked in a lot of B2B white collar franchising, and some of the common traits I've seen why people want to go self-employed and choose a franchise as a route is get away from the corporate rat race. They've had enough of the long commutes, being away from home, leaving home before the wife and children are up, getting home when the kids are in bed, not seeing the family. They want to take control of that and give themselves a bit more flexibility around the same hours. They might be working the same hours, but they can choose what hours to do. They've got a bit more flexibility where they might be able to do the school run. They might be able to pick the kids up from school or take them to clubs after school. So they get a lot more family interaction and then work their hours around that is a big thing, which obviously corporate life won't give. People hit the glass ceiling. You see it so often in corporate life. People have got as far as they're going to get. They might start to get overlooked for promotion. Younger people start to get promoted often over them. I've seen that so many times and think, right, well, instead of waiting for the next opportunity, let's take control and do it ourselves. So some of those corporate pain points I see quite often over the 20 plus years I've been recruiting franchisees. Absolutely. But that ability to be able to take control of your own life, not necessarily work-life balance where you're going to be part-time, you're still going to be working a lot of hours to make the business, especially in the early years, but to have flexibility around the family and the home life by a bit of control back.
You know, you mentioned the family and home life, and one of the things I really do remember around having my own franchise was we always have kind of up north, we have a snow day every year, don't we, nowadays? It's usually one day a year where you might get a couple of foot of snow if you're lucky. Usually it's about 10 inches, and everyone goes out, and it's the roads are mental, you can't get anywhere because no one can drive in snow anymore.
Absolutely.
One of my grumbles. But yeah, for me, it was one thing I really remember was that we had a snow day, and the kids were off school, and I took my youngest sledging. I had that ability to just say, right, I'm my own boss. I'm going to rearrange my jobs for the day, and I'm going to go out with my son, and I'm going to go sledging. And it's things like that, the school sports day, being able to, you know what, that's the day of school sports day. I'm going to go watch my son play whatever it is, a bit of sport, bit of football, bit of cricket, or go in the egg and spoon race, whatever it may be. So for me, it is a big thing, being your own boss. It does create that opportunity for you to do that kind of thing. Bit more so in a management franchise as opposed to an owner-operator franchise. But yeah, it was just a brilliant thing to be able to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so much better for the home life, for the family life. I remember a franchisee that I recruited. I was always kind of in awe with him because he walked away from a very well-paid job. He was a finance director for a listed company, but he was leaving the house literally 6 a.m. to do the commute, getting home at 8, 9 o'clock at night, accusations from his wife saying she feels like a single mum with the luxury of the bills being paid. And he walked away from that to build his own business. And he was married with 4-year-old children. He was only about 35, 40 with a mortgage, to have that strength of character to walk away from that job. And it allowed him to take that control back, and it was a huge success for him because he was properly motivated. Yeah. But yeah, that taking control is a very big thing. So why a franchise rather than just starting from scratch?
Oh, that's a good one, isn't it? I mean, for us, for me, obviously, I knew franchising so I knew the benefits of what a franchise looked like and what those were. Obviously, you've got the brand there already that's recognised. Not every brand's going to be recognised within franchising, but most are and have a little bit of footprint in an area or in the country. So you've usually got that brand that recognised that people recognise, but also you've got those that people talk about systems and processes of a franchise, but you've got those systems in place, but the initial training, because I just so happened to get a cleaning franchise, and I've never cleaned before. And my wife will tell you I've never cleaned before. I don't think I ever have since. So it wasn't about the fact that I didn't know anything about cleaning, but you get that training. If it's specialised cleaning, you get that training in specialised cleaning. The training, the initial training, the ongoing training. But yeah, that brand recognition as well is so important. And you can start basically in a lot of franchises earning from day dot.
Yeah.
Not in all of them. Obviously, in a management franchise like ours is, you've got to work a little bit harder and build up that kind of customer base. But in some franchises, you can get going from word go.
Absolutely. And for me, one of the reasons is having people around you. When you're working, you've got colleagues, you've got your boss, you've got people that work for you, people you're in the team with. It's a nice sociable side as much as anything. When you go self-employed, day one, Monday morning, you're sat there waiting for the phone to ring by yourself. It can be an incredibly lonely place. But of course, by joining a franchise, yes, you've been through the training course, you've built a camaraderie with the trainers and the support people. And Monday morning, having access to those people, for me, takes away a lot of that loneliness and a lot of that fear of what am I supposed to be doing now? Because if you get those moments where you hit that wall, you're not sure what to do, you've got someone you can pick up the phone and talk to, whether it's somebody you trained with, whether it's your business development manager, the support members, the guy that recruited you in the first place, you talk that through, knowing that you've got a big group of people you can turn to and talk to. It takes away a lot of that loneliness and a lot of that fear and how to overcome various obstacles that might come in the path.
No, I totally agree. Again, bringing it back to us, because that's what we like to do. But no, bringing it back to us, it's me and you that do the first 90 days.
It is.
So, the poor person that comes on board has got to put up with our faces. But no, it is. You are right. That when you do start up on day one, you do kind of think, what have I done here?
Yeah.
And to have that person to talk to have a person, because you do have bad days when you run your own business, be it a franchise or not a franchise. You're going to have the bad day, or something might happen, or you might find something that you don't quite understand how to clean or how to finish or whatever it may be. So to have that person at the end of the phone. Nowadays, Teams, and you can actually see them as well. And in our instance, we'll actually go out and make the effort to go out and see them. So to have that person, all those people and that support structure, and it's not always about just doing the job side of things. It's about, I'm not sure if I'm doing the right thing, doing this bit of advertising or that bit of, we've been there and done it all, so we'll give you the best advice.
Absolutely, 100%. And that's some of the big differences really between being an independent business and being a franchise business, knowing that you've got the experience, you've got the buying into the mistakes the franchisors made, the learning they've taken from that, and the improvements to the systems to overcome that, and also the camaraderie in the brand. They're some of the big difference rather than going it alone.
Yeah,
it's a much stronger place to be.
100%, much better than being just on your own.
Absolutely, good stuff. So, myths about franchising. I think in franchising, there's a lot of myths out there about franchising and what franchising is all about, franchisee relationships, etc. Over time, I'm sure you've come across a few of those.
Oh, yeah, plenty. Both in working for a franchisor, BFA, and also as a franchisee myself. There's lots of myths out there, and I think. One of the biggest ones for me is that you spend, for instance, it's 30 grand or whatever it may be. You spend your franchise fee, and people expect guaranteed success.
Yeah,
it doesn't work like that. Behind every franchise and every successful franchisee is a lot of hard work, and that it amazes me sometimes people that spend the money on the franchise fee then just kind of expect it to happen for him.
Yeah, just sit back expecting business to land in the lap.
It doesn't happen like that.
It doesn't.
You've got to follow the system. You've got to, follow the processes that are put in place. Do the marketing that and follow the training. You get that initial training. Use that training and use the support structure that you've got around you to help you grow and develop. But yeah, you're right. In terms of see it so many times. People think that they've got guaranteed success, and also. People also think sometimes that they're buying a job.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you've come across that.
Absolutely. People that think that, especially the people that perhaps, as you and I are, the wrong side of 50, Ooh. The job market's,
steady.
I know. But it's the reality, let's face it. It's we are what we are. People that are perhaps the wrong side of 50, job market's tougher, more competitive. The younger generation are coming along with all their experience now and new ways of working. So they've perhaps been looking around for a while, struggling to find a job. Think, okay, I've got some money. Why don't I buy a franchise? And for me, that's the wrong reasons for buying a franchise.
Absolutely.
And for those people, it always feels like they're buying themselves a job because they're running out of options.
Yeah.
And those people that don't join it with the right mindset to go out there, that they're going to have to go out there and hustle to grow a business. They're buying it thinking, I'm trying to replace income. Yeah. I'll buy a franchise. It's guaranteed to work. It's going to be a lot easier to try and do something myself. And they sit back and wait for the work to happen. They wait for the work to come through the door. They wait for the phone to ring. And as you know and I know,
they wait a long time.
Yeah, they're going to wait an awful long time for that. It's just not going to happen.
No.
So that whole buying a job is one of the biggest challenges, and part of our role in franchise recruitment is to try and educate people about what they're really buying into, so they come in with the right mindset to try and get it right through the recruitment process to make sure we're not recruiting those people. But it's very easy for some franchisors, especially new ones going out there that are just recruiting the first franchisees, to make some mistakes. But I think, you're not buying a job. You've got to go out there and make it work for you. Yeah,
and to talk about those mistakes, I don't think there's a franchisor I've ever come across, worked for, or supported BFL, or what, that have said they've not made a mistake in recruitment.
Yeah.
And, and it's very easy to make those mistakes in recruitment. As me and you both have
absolutely
battle scars to prove.
Yeah, I know I've recruited people in the past that I know deep down I probably shouldn't have done. Yeah. They wanted to join. There was enough about them to think, yes, we'll give them a chance. But you also knew there was enough red flags in the background to say how, thankfully, it's 10 plus years since I did that. I've learned, and I like to be able to look myself in the mirror when I'm shaving to know that the person I recruited, they've genuinely got the best chance. But when you're a bit younger, or it's a newer business, there's pressures on to recruit, hit year-end targets, and if you've got somebody that really wants to do it, you think, I'll give them a chance. But you know deep down, you're going to be giving yourself a problem 2 years down the line. Yeah, absolutely. There's also a little bit of a myth, I think, around franchises being expensive to buy, and a lot of the time franchises, they aren't
a huge investment in, relatively compared to, other things that you can purchase. For example, ours is £30,000 plus VAT. You need a bit of working capital. You've probably got £48,000. You're all right. You'd be good to go. Obviously, there's models where you've got property maybe, and all that kind of good stuff. Refits and all that kind of thing, which will heighten it, won't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. If it's anything retail based, premises based, quick service restaurant, coffee based, yes, you're going to have to make the investment in fit out costs, etc., and maybe regular refreshers as well. But yeah, certainly for our sort of level, especially with our business, which isn't property based, you can operate it from home. So you haven't got the overheads of managing premises. You haven't got the overheads of storage facilities. It really keeps that total investment down. And also, this is one of the myths about franchising, that it's more expensive than starting yourself. You start from yourself. You've got to create a brand. Yeah, you've got to create process. You've got to create routes to market. You've got to find training. You've got to find marketing support. With us, that's all created and it's there for you from day one. So yes, there's a £30,000 investment to make, but it saves you making an investment on all of these areas. So it pretty much nets itself out in total.
I would say it's cheaper.
Yeah.
I would honestly say it's cheaper.
I think in the long run, especially as I think a good franchise.
As you think about the mistakes.
The mistakes. I also think with the right franchise, with the right support, where you are after the first year with a franchise is probably where you'd be after 3 years of trying to do it by yourself. And that's being generous. It really does, I believe, accelerate the growth for the right individual that's willing to engage in the marketing, engage in the business development and engage in the process. It really accelerates the growth as well. So they need to also look at what the returns are going to be when assessing, is that franchise good value? Yeah. It's a case of where am I going to be the first year versus where would it be after the first year trying to do it by myself. I believe there'll be a much wider gap than the franchise fee.
Absolutely, I agree totally with that. And then we've got the old myth about franchisees not having any form of independence. Well, let me tell you, when you're a franchisee, you've as much independence as you want, haven't you, really?
You do.
You're out there from day one. You've got no one in the background giving you, apart from maybe the wife, giving you any...
Or husband.
Or husband, yeah.
Just
or
what
husband,
a
yeah. Yes. So you've got nobody giving you any instruction in terms of any orders, direct orders. So you have got independence. You do. You can take, my example, you can take snow day. You can take do the sports days and that kind of thing. So you have got that independence. Wouldn't you agree?
I 100% agree. And of course, let's not forget the greatest anecdote in franchising and franchisees' ability to have independence and ultimately influence the franchise all through independence is the Big Mac, which came from a franchisee who, for his own lunch, decided he wanted to put two patties together with a Thousand Island dressing. That was his preference off menu. And lo and behold, that's become the Big Mac. Yeah. So, that's perhaps the most extreme example. But across franchising, there's similar examples with some slightly lesser known brands.
Now, is that a myth or is that real? Have we ever had that?
I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's real.
We've never had it. Well, I'm sure someone somewhere knows the truth behind that.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm definitely going to say it's real.
Good,
probably.
Good. What about for me? Another myth that you come across, and particularly in the kind of doubting Thomas side of the recruitment market. You would say that franchisors make money come what may. Now we know different to that.
We do.
We do know different to that. Now, the brand that I was involved with actually. They would make, they had a set fee, a monthly fee. So they would make money every month, come what may. But, that still worked. They made more money if we did better because we needed more product, etc. Now, in our case, NIC case, it's definitely, it is a total myth, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So at NIC, we don't make money from supply line. We don't charge franchisees for buying products from us. Our income comes from management service fees from franchisees. And definitely, our management service fees, they're a percentage of turnover. So the only way we can grow as a business and be successful as a business is if our franchisees are growing themselves and are successful first.
Yeah.
The franchisees have to be successful first, and then we're successful on the back of that. I had a colleague that used to say to new franchisees, saying, "We're going to make you successful whether you want to be or not." And I love that, because that's just classic franchising, because it's a win-win situation. The more successful the franchisee becomes, yes, the more successful the franchisor becomes. But I found, in all my experience, and it's true here at NIC, franchisees don't. They don't object to the franchisor's success, because the good franchisors, we reinvest in support for the franchisees.
Absolutely.
The more successful we are, the better we can then support the franchisees.
Surely, I mean, from my own viewpoint, you looking at it as when I was a franchisee, I'd want my franchise all to be really successful, because if that means I'm being successful. Surely, you that mutual success,
absolutely,
is what you strive for. Isn't it?
It is, and it does allow us to reinvest. I think we were looking at it this morning, where we within the franchise team, we've increased headcount by 5 people over the last year to 18 months, and that's on the back of a very successful year of growth for the franchisees. It's allowed us to reinvest in more people in the finance support team, more business development support, more marketing support. It's a great cycle, which of course is then going to make them become even more successful over time, which allows us to keep growing. It's a great cycle.
Well, without the franchisee sales,
we've got nothing.
We can't grow.
No, we don't have a business.
We don't have a business. So no,
100%.
And it is one of the biggest myths.
It is.
It's just it's mutual success. You can't have one without the other.
Absolutely.
As they say in Yorkshire.
So this is the regional version, by the way.
We'll have to do a southern version for. They'll understand you.
Okay, very good.
So one of the other myths that I hear, what happens? You can't really sell a franchise. Well, obviously you can. I mean, I sold my franchise. And we've successfully sold franchises in the past for both NIC, and we've done it for other brands as well. It's one of those myths that I don't really know where that one's come from. Do you?
No, I've seen a couple of brands where you'd think you struggle to sell the business at the end. As long as it's a business where you're building up recurring income, ideally, or you can demonstrate regular income, and you can demonstrate that you, as the franchise owner, the franchisee, demonstrate that you can step away from that business and it still be successful. Now, in some of the consulting franchises, that's a bit more challenging, where the individuals, the consultant, the coach within the business, and that gets a bit more challenging. But for the vast majority of franchise brands, there will be a route to exit and a saleable asset. And over the years, countless resales have completed on from small businesses selling for a couple of $100,000. And the biggest resale I ever did sold for £1 million.
Wow.
So there's really no cap on how big you can grow the business. Because I guess that's another myth, should I stop growing my business if I want to be able to sell it? Absolutely not. Keep growing it, because there will be people out there, and there's still a huge amount of bank support to help fund the franchise resales. So and that's a great question to ask the franchisor. What's the exit strategy? What's my opportunity on exit? What franchise resales have you done? So when you are doing your research, ask the franchisor, what's their experience with resales within the network?
I always like to have a conversation with a potential franchisee, which goes along the lines of, what's your exit strategy? Because I like a potential franchisee to understand, what they want from the franchise for the long term, not just short term. Short term, medium, and long.
Exactly.
At what point do you think, actually, I'll probably grow this for 10 years, I might grow it for 5 years, whatever it may be? What is your exit strategy? How would you like to exit the business, and what is your exit goals?
Absolutely.
How much do you need to get out?
Yeah, so you can then work to them over that 5-year, 10-year, 20-year term to build the business to that position.
Yeah, build the plans accordingly.
Exactly.
Put everything in place. Yeah, it's always always beneficial to know those things.
Absolutely.
As a BDM, as a business development manager, that is, and as of course us as recruiters, to know what that kind of end goal is.
Yeah, as long as people give us enough lead time to sell the business, because it's not an overnight process, to get the business ready to go on the market, to attract buyers and go through the whole sales process, can easily take 18 months from start to finish.
Well, I always, a wise man once said to me, you should put it on the market 18 months before you want to sell it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did that. It took me 6. But, I'd rather that than
The budget 6 and take 18.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's for me, you've got to plan, prepare for your franchise to go on sale, I'd say, as a minimum 18 months before you want to sell.
That's it.
But in terms of another kind of, not a myth, but do you think that franchisees have to be entrepreneurial?
I'll say no, but I'll give some caveats in a moment. In franchising, you've got to be prepared to follow a system. You've got to be prepared to follow a process. With NIC, we're a commercial cleaning business. We don't want franchisees going off piece and start doing domestic cleaning. That's not what we're all about. So we want people that are happy with the model, they're happy with the brand, they're happy with the colour schemes, they don't want to fight and change anything. Sometimes when somebody joins a franchise, that they're perhaps a bit too entrepreneurial. They want to change the branding, they want to change the processes, they want to start pushing it outside of the envelope.
Marketing different.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's it, especially, in premises based. Well, actually, I don't like those desks. I prefer those desks. For those people, I'd say franchising's probably not for them.
You get someone who's looking at McDonald's but wants to sell sausage rolls.
Exactly. That's perfect example. It happens. And I've seen it. I remember I had a franchisee that wanted to change the colour scheme for a brand I was working with. They wanted to change the logo. They wanted something more bespoke for them. And they spent 2 or 3 years almost fighting the system.
Yeah.
And it just stopped them from growing. And they became frustrated because they were entrepreneurial and the restrictions, for want of a better word, we put upon them, it did frustrate them. And it did hamper their growth. Eventually they came around because they realised, hang on a minute, everybody else is growing, but I'm not. Maybe the franchisor does know what they're talking about. Yeah. Now, that person we did manage to bring round, but sometimes people just get too frustrated. And if you are that sort of person, I'd suggest franchising's not for you. That said, the caveat, if you're too much of a shrinking violet, I'd also say it's not for you.
Absolutely. You've got to be able to get out there, speak to people, network, sell, whatever franchise it is. That's another myth. Will selling be involved in my franchise? Of course it will. You're running your own business. At some point, you've got to sell yourself or sell your service or sell your product.
Exactly.
Be it that a burger, be it that, cutting grass, be it, commercial cleaning. You've got to be able to sell your service, yourself, and your product.
Yep, and lead a team. Especially if it's a management franchise like ours, or even if it's a man of the van franchise where you might have one person working with you. Yeah. You've got to be able to lead a team. So you've got to have those people skills, the communication skills, and absolutely be selling. And you might not be selling your product, you might be selling you as the business. McDonald's, I'm sure the burgers sell themselves, but I know the franchisees
they do when we're in town.
Absolutely. But the franchisees, they've got to get out there in the community. They've got to sell themselves to the local community and how they give back to the local community. And the same with any business now, with our various corporate social responsibilities. It's not just selling the actual product; it's selling yourself as a community business as well. Yeah, so you've got to have that those people skills and the communication skills, but not necessarily be a proven entrepreneur.
Absolutely, looking at why people may fail as a franchisee. I hate using the F word. Yeah, but people do fail as a franchise owner, and I've kind of narrowed it down to 3 things. I know you've probably got a few more because you're smarter than me, but my 3 main items or reasons, if you like, for failure. I always think that laziness. You're buying a franchise, you come into it, you think it's a given, blah 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 blah. Laziness is, and it's always blown my mind that people spend a lot of money on a franchise and then don't actually get out of bed and do anything about it. So it's one of those real weird ones that people buy something and don't work hard at it, don't really perform at it. So laziness for me is kind of number 1. Number 2, I would suggest, would be an inability to follow systems and processes. So buying a McDonald's and trying to sell sausage rolls is an example of that. Follow that process, follow that system. And that's number 2 for me. And number 3 for me is something, unfortunately, none of us have any control about, which is health. I've seen franchises fail because of health. Now, I look at that and I take that on board, and I think about NIC as a franchise, because that's where we are. And with NIC, I think it's within the realms of possibility to have a business up and running, because it's a management business, a management franchise, where it can almost run independently of its owner, if you like. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the owners built it to that point. But yeah, a business where it can work without that owner's day-to-day involvement. And I think that's where we've, the health side of it, yes, if it's in the first couple of years, it's going to be a bit of a downer. It's going to be a struggle. Ill health's never an upper, is it? But you know what I mean? It's going to be hard. Whereas with a management franchise, if you've got it functioning properly, as it should be, then it could thrive still without you and your day-to-day involvement.
Absolutely, yeah. As long as you've got the right management team in place, they follow the right systems. Yeah, some great points there. I think if I was to add on that, and I'll follow suit and say my 3 reasons why some thrive and some struggle is, first one I've seen is not being properly capitalised.
Yes.
It does take an investment, and it's not just having the capital available for the franchise fee or for the working capital for the business. It's also for the home life.
Yeah.
Yes, if there's a second income coming in that covers the mortgage and puts the food on the table, great. But it's making sure that if they don't have that they've got enough money going at the top to be able to take drawings to cover the living expenses. Where I've seen people join us that have not been properly capitalised, or join us and make some dumb decisions the Monday after training to go and lease a brand new Range Rover and think the business is going to be able to fund that. Yeah. So yes, it's not being money smart really, I should say, rather than being undercapitalised. But when people are putting too much pressure on themselves in the first year, 18 months, that's when they start making bad decisions like underpricing to get clients in, because they want to get the panic. They want to get cash flow. They're not necessarily thinking about profit. They're thinking about cash flow because they want to get some money in, because they know they've got bills to pay. They know they need to get some income in for some drawings. So they're not thinking of long-term profitability. Where franchisees that join us are properly capitalised, that yes, they're going to take some drawings out of the business, but perhaps after 6 months, not after 1 month. They're the ones that I've seen tend to thrive and still be around 5-10 years down the road. Other areas, family support or lack of.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
I've seen that.
Yeah. Many years ago, I heard a phrase in franchising called the skeptical spouse.
Yes.
And there's nothing worse than that, especially when times are tough. As you touched on earlier, you said you're going to hit some bad days. You're going to hit some days when things aren't going the way you want them to go. You might have expected to get some new business, and for whatever reason, it goes to somebody else. You don't win that contract. Yeah. You might have had a couple of members of staff phoning sick, so you've had to roll your sleeves up and go out at 6 a.m. to work yourself. And in the background, you've got your other half saying, I told you should have stayed in employment. I told you should have taken that job. I told you not to go self-employed. So it's knowing that you've got that strong family support is a key area. And it's something that we both look for when it comes to franchise recruitment.
Well, we something that we kind of do as our process in recruitment is actually do our home visit, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And the home visit is we always kind of want to meet the significant other, whoever it may be, and ensure that there's an alignment.
Yep.
That both are 100% behind the project, as it were, of getting a franchise. Because without that, it really does become difficult. And I've seen it several times within my experience, and I know you have as well, where you've got that kind of doubting Thomas in the background, and it brings the franchisee down. It does bring the franchisee down. So, something to really consider, I would suggest. What's your last?
My final one is not doing enough research or due diligence, not really understanding what it is you're buying yourself into. I've seen that when franchisees have said, well, we talked about that. That was on that video we sent you. That was in the prospectus, but they haven't read it. They haven't properly understood it. They haven't done enough research talking to franchisees. Yeah. They don't really appreciate that they're getting into, say, a management franchise. Well, I've got to recruit staff. Well, yes, you have. It's not an owner-operator franchise. It's a management franchise. We don't see it so much, but not doing enough research, which, fantastically, is a topic of a future podcast, you'll be pleased to hear.
Oh, fantastic.
So, which is a nice segue into, don't forget to like and subscribe to these podcasts to make sure that you don't miss that episode when it comes up in a few weeks' time.
And you get to see our handsome faces yet again.
Yeah, but thankfully you can have it on Spotify so you can listen rather than watch, which is, I suspect, is where most people will be getting this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I wouldn't blame them one iota. So, Phil, fantastic, great conversation.
Yeah,
always a pleasure.
Enjoyed that. Yeah.
Yep, and thanks everyone for watching. And we've got a comment section, so if there's anything you want to hear me and Phil talk about in a future episode, feel free to drop it into the comments, and we'll see what we can do. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.